Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by oldschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, The Comic Book Cast, and The Aramita Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia, and I'm back with Liam Higgins. So welcome back, Liam.
Hey.
And we are here with a very special guest. We are here with Niketa Calame. So welcome, Niketa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and where people probably know you from?
Okay, my name is Niketa Calame. I'm from Los Angeles, California, originally, like second generation LA. And I am an actress. I'm a photographer and producer. My most known credit is I was the voice for young Nala in Disney's The Lion King in '94. So the original animated classic.
Okay.
And I do TV and film and theater.
All right, that's great. So, yeah, I think the first question that I would like to ask is, what made you get interested in going into acting?
Well, I love to tell the story of when I was 5 and my mom had me in gymnastics, and I was getting a photo shoot done for one of our shows that was coming up. And when the photographer came, I was like Miss Mealy Mouse, not doing anything. And it was about to be a flop, and she put a mic in my hand. And I just came to life. And from then on, she's like, okay, I'm going to put her in some dance classes and acting classes. And pretty much since then, I've been in entertainment.
Awesome. Yeah. I guess, at a young age, we all get to have the opportunity to showcase of what we can truly do. And, sometimes it's just that one moment that can pretty much change your entire life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. Well, I think being in LA is helpful. And then also a few of my family members were also in the industry. So in terms of like finding an agent and things like that, my mom really had a lot of support system around that in terms of, so I never did like the big sending out 10,000, headshots or things like that. It was all kind of referral based. And then after that, then it's like your talent, whether they like you or not.
Right.
So that helped me get an early start pretty quickly.
Yeah. Sometimes in the acting industry, it's about who you know as opposed to what you do.
It's a relationship business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Liam and I have our kind of relationship with the industry. Liam's an actor, and I've done a lot of, stage work with various projects. And when it comes to like these kind of productions. You know, I've learned over the past few years that I've been in school that Hollywood is a very tight-knit community, that it's about who you know as opposed to what you know, and one effect can ripple over to the other. So you always have to have a professional attitude, whatever with you're
Yes.
doing.
It's a small community with a big mouth. So the news you want to travel is not bad.
Right,
You
right.
want to, I usually tell because I teach too. I usually tell my students, I ask them like, when does the audition start? And a lot of them be like, in the room. I'm like, no, when you get out of your car. I've, I've actually seen, when I've been on behind the scenes, I've actually seen some casting people out in the lobby, just chilling, checking out people and seeing how their just normal attitude is toward people. So it really is about just being your best self at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in our social media where everybody is seeing what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're
Yeah.
reacting to things. If,
Mhm.
I mean, even one slip up, there's a reason why the hashtag cancel culture and all those things exist.
Yes.
I remember reading an article a long time ago regarding about a person who was getting themselves ready for an interview, and you know, they did a really good job with the interview. They got the job, but then they started slipping up by acting very inappropriate. By their lunch hour, the person got fired because they heard what happened. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even with like, you know, something that you even say on Facebook, or if you post a picture, it's like, if that comes out, I mean, because, you know, LinkedIn, you know, you get to put your information into the system so that you could possibly have a potential company looking at your work. They look at everything, Instagram, Twitter. That's why they link all those things so that they can see all the
Yeah.
things that you're saying and what you're doing. If one of those things pop up, and even if it's just one time like 3 years ago and you don't even remember, it's like that will come back and it'll affect you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's all about just raising responsible citizens with empathy. I think cancel culture is a bit harsh. I feel like there should be some redemption or people growing and being able to make mistakes.
Sure.
Um, but it is on there forever. So when you put stuff up, it's not like, oh, well, I didn't say that. It's like, well, let me scroll back. Here it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, Liam, do you have a question?
Yeah. Seeing as we were talking about, how in the industry it's who you know, I noticed, like after the Lion King, there was like a huge period where you didn't do any acting.
Yeah.
Was that due to a lack of industry connections, or was that just a break?
No, I actually thank my mom for that because she was not a stage mom and
Mhm.
she was very in tune with what I wanted to do. So like I said, I started when I was 5.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of kid stuff that you're missing. That's a lot of
Mhm.
no sleepovers. That's a lot of no parties. That's a lot of you're working while people are like chilling.
Mhm.
So when I got to high school, I started getting involved in theater really heavy. So I was
Mhm.
in like dance production and drama production and musical theater production. And then I was like, I mean, my family has a very strong educational base, so college was not even an option of not to go to.
Mhm.
Um, and so I really wanted to live the college life. I wanted to be on campus. So I went to college and then I went to grad school. So that's like a big chunk of time of
Mhm.
kind of taking a step away and then kind of joining back in when I graduated from grad school.
Okay.
Yeah. So, speaking of which, how did you get the audition for The Lion King?
Well, I was with the agent. They were called Harry Gold back then. My agent was Ruth Hansen. And I went for an audition maybe 2 years before I booked it. And it was called The King of the Jungle at the time. So when
Right.
I got a call back a year later and it's called The Lion King. I didn't even know what that was. And it was down to me and one other girl, and they recorded us. It was down to like I think like the producer and the 2 directors, Roger Allen and Rob Minkoff, and they recorded us some of the lines from the proposed script or whatever, and then I booked it. I booked
Yeah.
it. So they whittled it down. And I didn't even know it was like the next, the line of the classics, I was just like, oh, I booked something. It wasn't really until, well, when I got there, my first day, I told them what I was there for, and they're like, oh, park here, park. And I was like, okay. And then James Earl Jones was leaving his session when I was going to my session, and I was like, okay. And then all my scenes were with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who was like the big heartthrob back then. So I was like, okay. And it wasn't really until the premiere that I was like, oh, this is what I've been doing for the past couple of months / year.
Right. Yeah, I remember reading an article or watching a documentary regarding about that. I think it was Waking Sleeping Beauty, the Disney documentary, where they were like chronicling when Disney was starting to release some of their more critically acclaimed films. And I remember that, you know, the story about the King of the Jungle and about eventually the Lion King, where it was supposed to be like a project that they were just working on the side because Pocahontas was their main focus.
They had the directors say this all the time. They had trouble like getting the animators on board. They were like, yeah, a coming of age story where the dad dies. And they're like, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. I think they called it like Bambi of Africa or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, nobody expected that it was going to be like the highest grossing animated film ever.
Yeah, it really is special. And there's a lot of themes in it that really resonated with all ages, like at the premiere and even when they brought it back out in 3D. So now we're like all grown, talking to people on the red carpet. And I get random like fan mail like, oh, my dad died around that time and Lion King got me through it. And just, you'd be surprised how animation or, you know, something that you think is this simple little cute thing like touches people in different ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that, you know, with, you know, this particular role being most well known, I think that for a lot of other people that you mentioning before about photography and producing and acting in other roles. Now, I know in this particular industry, especially with everything that's been going on with Hollywood, as well as the movement. Now, how would you say that, you know, things have progressed from when you were starting off from where you are now with, especially with the movement that's been going on with the Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matter movement. And, you know, a whole bunch of information has been revealed that not a lot of people know about. And even with like the recent announcement about how even in animation that they're going to now focus on having you know, certain characters portray as the respected race or gender, you know, opening up a massive opportunity for actors and actresses who are of that race or color or gender to get that role. I'm sure that it's a big win for a lot of people because you know, back then, especially like during the early times of cinema or television, you know, certain people of gender or race or religion would be either side characters or they would be the best friend or they would be, well, other unfortunate roles, but
or portrayed by other people like Cleopatra, like lots of Asian characters were not played by Asians. And
right.
It's like a long-going thing with Hollywood.
Absolutely. So, but now they're opening up to it, and they're going to have more people of diverse, you know, depictions to be portrayed. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think that's the great thing about movements, right? They shine a light on what's been going on, where the people who are affected by it have been witnessing it, and it kind of opens it up to a broader conversation where some people just really don't know that it goes on or you know, close their eyes to it. I've had a few instances, and I'm not alone in this, even in casting rooms, like, we need you to sound more ethnic. We need you to be more urban, or we need you to be more Black. And I'll just say, oh, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Like sometimes it's the microaggressions that allow something like a cop to sit on a neck and not really shock people, because there's so many little things that are acceptable that the big thing is like, well, what did he do? It's like, no, he got killed.
Right.
A human killed a human, so that's a no-brainer.
Sure.
but like, for instance, the Me Too movement, I've heard a few stories from women who've had to, luckily had a strong upbringing and had a lot of support. So they were able to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to take this off, or no, the script doesn't call for that. Why do I need to do that? But in some instances, for other people, that wasn't the avenue. And unfortunately, they had some pretty scary instances. But when you shine a light on it, like Me Too, and just call people out when it happens, because sometimes there's.
Huh? Hello?
Hello?
Niketa?
Out, so.
I think you just broke off for just a second. Can you repeat that last sentence, please?
Oh, I was saying that I think now with movements and shining light on things, the conversation has become a little less tense in terms of people wanting to talk about it. So I think there's more times for healthy calling out of things so that it doesn't happen. Because sometimes it's people's upbringing. So, I mean, not to sound, sometimes people really don't know, like, that was racist, what you just said. And sometimes it's not until somebody says, actually, that was kind of racist, or that was kind of sexist, and they've never been called out ever. So now that people are calling people out, now it's a decision. Okay, I know this is wrong now, so you can't use that as an excuse. What are you going to do about it now when you gain the knowledge?
Right.
Right.
You have another question, Liam?
Yeah. I was just thinking, and I'm just curious. God, what was I going to say?
You want me to go back to you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I have, so basically, all the, now I'm actually curious about, you were saying that not only did you do all the previous stuff, but you're also a teacher, and you also teach a whole bunch of students about acting. So what are the methods that you teach for your students so that they can be able to get into the industry?
Well, it kind of depends on the age. So if I'm working with college students, then I'm from the Stanislavski method acting from my grad school. So we'll go there with them. For younger students, it's more play, improv, audition techniques, starting to learn monologues, starting to do sense memory, starting to do scene study, cold reading, all the things that kind of help them when they're not with me, like deliver in the room.
Okay. Yeah. Have you heard any successes from any of your students that you taught so far?
Yeah. So one of my students, her very first audition, she booked the young Celie in one of the productions of The Color Purple.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so that was super exciting because we were working on her music and getting her songs together. So it happened that I was working with her just in time for this big audition she had coming up. And then a lot of the college students, as you know, being a college student and then graduating, a lot of them are now like in the industry, and it kind of, as a teacher, you're like, wow, like you're just doing what you do, but you really are touching lives as a teacher. So
that's wonderful.
It's really humbling to get like emails or, thank yous, like maybe years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Did you figure out your question, Liam?
Yes.
Okay,
actually, I was just curious. So, seeing as you've been to like many premieres, and you've worked with so many famous people, is there? And I mean, you've met like James Earl Jones. You've met Jeremy Irons. You've met Beyonce.
Well, I didn't meet her. She was there.
All right. You saw Beyonce in person, right?
We were breathing the same air.
But what I mean is there a celebrity interaction that really sticks out to you?
Actually, three that really stick out to me are not in front of the camera. I am still in contact with Roger Allers, Rob Minkoff, and Don Hahn, the two directors and producer from The Lion King. All these years, I was 12 years old when I first met them. Don Hahn wrote one of my letters of recommendation to college. Like they've, and because of social media, it's been a lot easier than back in the day. It was like writing letters and emails and stuff. But yeah, we've kind of maintained a relationship. They kept me informed in terms of this last this last red carpet for the Lion King, making sure that I was invited to that. So that's been the longest kind of relationship in terms of industry wise. And it's pretty cool that, that, you know, I was 12 years old and now I'm like 39.
Right. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I know that you've also done a lot of film as well. I mean, in addition to like The Lion King, so you've done like various TV shows as well. You were in the new Perry Mason show. There's Timeless, and
that one's coming out. My episode airs July 19th.
Oh, nice! Yeah,
for Perry Mason. Yeah,
yeah.
And I love period pieces, so I was like in heaven on set there.
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to know, you know, I'm sure that people would be interested about the difference between working for a movie and a television show. Like, what were your experiences with that and interacting with the cast and maybe even the crew at times?
To me, interactions were kind of the same in terms of, you know, the AD meeting you, going in for your fittings. Once you're there on set for shoot day, they take you to your trailer, then move you on along to hair, move you on along to makeup, move you on along to rehearsal, then back to your trailer to wait some more hours, and then finally get to shoot. I found that to be pretty much the same with TV and film. Now, where it was a little different is when I did like the 3-camera sitcom, that felt more like a play to me because we had a whole week of rehearsal. The first day was like a read through with the whole cast. The writers were there rewriting. Even while we were shooting, the writers would come and like give you some other things that they think would pop. They think that joke would pop more or something. And then you had the live audience. So that felt like a play to me with the 3-cam, you know, sitcom-y type environment.
Oh yeah, that sounds. Yeah, I've actually dealt a lot with doing 3-camera projects because that's basically currently what I'm doing at the moment. I'm a camera operator for various projects for my school. So yeah, I'm kind of familiar with that setup, especially with you know, a whole group of people around, you know, watching something. So yeah. It kind of feels right.
And then it goes a little faster because they're getting multiple things that they need at once.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't tend to be as long of a day when it's that set up.
Yeah. Anything else, Liam?
Okay, actually, yes. You were also in a CB4, which has kind of become a cult classic.
Yes.
When did you find out that sort of gained a cult following, and what was your reaction to it?
Well, to go even before that, it was so funny. When I auditioned, this is also what I tell my students, all you have to do is go in there and do it because there's so many things that go into casting besides talent. So I went in for a different role. There's a family where he has like 10 sisters or something like that. So I auditioned for that, but I looked so much like who they had already cast as Chris Rock's mom and dad that they wrote that role in for me because I just looked so much like that family. They were like, okay, he needs a sister. And then when it came out, my mom had invited all the deacons and stuff from church, and we went to the premiere, and she's like, "Oh no, I gotta uninvite all these people." But then growing up, I started to, you know, appreciate the jokes and stuff because they went over my head when it came out.
Right.
But even now, like on one of the Blackout Tuesdays or something like that, where it was like "Buy Black," people were posting Alan Payne's "I'm black, y'all," and "I'm black, y'all," and "I'm blacker than black," and "I'm black and I'm black." Yeah. So it still gets referenced. So that's kind of cool.
Neat. So yeah, I always ask this for anybody who comes to the show and who's an actor or in the acting industry. So for anybody who wants to get in, what advice would you give them so that they can be able to get their foot in the door?
I think if you're like brand spanking new, no connections, no anything, I think being in classes really helps to get you sharpening your skills if you're not getting them sharpened on set. And then I think, I mean, some people might turn their nose up to this, but I think doing some background work in the beginning is helpful if you go there with the intention to learn. because then you get to see like, okay, what does on your mark mean? What does second team mean? What does first team mean? What does checking the gate mean? You get to learn all this terminology without the pressure of it being on you to perform.
Yeah.
So if you look at it like that, starting out, I think classes, background work, and then with social media, start following the careers that you like. Start looking at casting directors and interacting with their pages. It's so easy now, especially in this time of quarantine. Loads of casting directors have been doing open calls, open auditions, just so they can take advantage of this downtime. So you just got to have a pulse to your ear to the pulse of what's going on. And reading up, Hollywood Reporter, Backstage, reading articles. Staying relevant with your craft, just like a doctor. Just because a doctor's a doctor, he doesn't stop reading, or she doesn't stop reading or having take tests. Like, I think acting, people get kind of lazy.
It's understandable, especially. I want to definitely emphasize on the whole. Even if a project that you're involved in doesn't pay you at all, get involved with it, because I remember when I was shadowing a radio station that there were for this local radio station around my town, and they said that they do summer interns every single year for up and coming radio announcers and people who want to get into the radio industry. And they always say that by the first 2 weeks, when they hear the term that they're going to be learning and not get paid for their time, they're gone. Because they're like, oh, really? I'm going to be doing this for like 3 months and I'm not getting a dime. But what they're missing out is that they are getting the experience now, so that if they're good, they'll get paid later.
And creating the relationship.
Again, relationships are really important. Because, again, very similar to what we said in the previous episodes of our podcast, whenever that we have an actor here or anybody who's working in the industry, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Yeah. And also, one other thing, student films and grad films are great exercise for actors when you're waiting to be in some big audition room. Because you're getting to, again, it's one thing to sit at home, learn your lines, get it all down. And it's another thing with camera angles and, looking at a cue spot and not really the actor that you're talking to. It's like all this stuff on top of just knowing your lines. The blocking, hitting the mark. So student films and grad films are great.
Absolutely.
Actually, just out of curiosity, have you done like background work, student films, and grad films?
Oh, yeah. I did background work on commercials. I did background work on TV shows. Even when I was little, like I did background work on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, like if you go back and look at just old TV shows, you'll see a lot of stars doing background work. It's a great way to kind of learn the ropes without the pressure being on you.
Right.
Brad Pitt did like 4 background work gigs. I've done a lot of background work and grad and student films as well.
Yeah. You were from what I remember, Liam.
Grad films are good. Sorry. Grad films are good too, because they're about to graduate and they're like the next people, so those are good relationships to have.
Absolutely. And, there's also the fact that, these kind of student films, even though that you're working on them in school, they're festivals that you can be able to showcase them. And who knows, maybe somebody is watching it and they'll be like, okay, there's potential to be here. Let's see if we can be able to work on that.
Yeah. Ava DuVernay, she started out doing indies and she was like, what the heck? Submitted it to Sundance. And you see where she's at now. So that's those people, in fact, the guy who she picked to be in Selma, he was in that indie film back in the day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
the relationship.
There you go. Relationship. You have any other questions, Liam?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. So I'm just going to wrap it up. Okay. So so basically, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on by. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. So yeah, why don't you talk about your upcoming projects? Where can people find you at?
Okay, so my Instagram is at Niketa Calame, and that has a link to everything else. Like I said, Perry Mason, my episode is coming on July 19th. So it's episode 5. They call them chapters. So episode 5 or chapter 5,
Hmm.
if on HBO. And then behind the scenes, I'm working on a docu-series, and we're in pre-production for that now. And I'll be posting the casting for that probably sometime this week.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, Liam, what do you got?
uh, again, because I'm just finishing grad school, so I'll have to admit I haven't really focused on my acting career in a while, but
Sure.
I have been focusing a lot on my booking podcasts career. So you can email me at kpwhiggins@gmail.com if if you're looking for someone to book podcasts, or you can find me on my Instagram and Facebook and message me that way.
All right. And yeah, as for me, I guess I have to say the same thing, in which I've been pretty busy with school myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, because of, everything that's been going on with, the world. I don't even need to say it because it's there. But yeah, I
Right.
was originally supposed to be doing some internship because I'm in that year of my school, but I decided to take some summer courses, so that's been taking a lot of my time. But yeah, but I have been able to, briefly update some stuff from time to time. But yeah, if you want to follow me, youtube.com/old school lane, facebook.com/old school lane. You can follow me on Twitter at Patty_B_Miranda. I post the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all those places. New episodes of my podcast will be there first, and then a few days it'll go up on YouTube. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you so much for listening, everybody. Let us know in the comments below about your favorite projects that Niketa has been involved in. Maybe you were actually one of her students. You may want to give a shout out to her if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so thank you so much for listening. Hope to see you around soon, and take care.